Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to take a look at our urban worm bag that has the African night crawlers in it. Or I should say, did have African night crawlers in it. The last time I checked on the system, I couldn't find any worms in the system at all. It looked very dry. Now, I do want to say I was looking for cocoons while I was going through the system, but I wasn't looking for the proper cocoons. I was looking for red wiggler cocoons that are like a bright yellow color and very easy to see. It looks like African nightcrawler cocoons are a slightly different color, more brownish, and I might not have really been looking for them, or I might not have been able to find them because I wasn't looking for the right thing. So there could be a lot of cocoons in this system. Worms do have a tendency to give a lot of cocoons before they start to die off, especially I've noticed this with other systems, such as when my parents had a system that was outside in freezing temperatures. The entire bin would freeze solid during the winter as it dropped down into the negatives, negative 6 degrees Fahrenheit. For those in Celsius, I don't know, it's probably around negative 20 maybe, or 15 Celsius, but it's really cold temperatures. And as soon as it thawed out, the worms came right back. And they obviously all the worms that were alive had died. It was only the cocoons that survived. They can survive a lot more conditions. So with that, I'm not going to add any food this time as far as frozen foods. We're going to just take a look at the system. I did add some worms from one of my other systems that had African night crawlers in it. But we're just going to take a look. We're going to look through the system, maybe add some cardboard, see how they're doing, see if there's any worms in there, and then go from there and make a judgment call as we're going through the system. So with that, let's take a look at the system, see how it's been doing for the past 30 days, and see what we need to add or what we need to do. All right, here is our urban worm bag. Let's go ahead and open this thing up and start taking a look inside. Now, unsurprising, we still have a lot of cardboard in here. I didn't really prepare any cardboard either for this. I figured that this would be, that this would have enough left over. We didn't have any worms in here really, so they weren't going to be pushing through this cardboard. Now, I will say, I'm seeing some moisture in here, which is a good sign. I am seeing a lot of millipedes right now. And for those of you that aren't sure what those are, these are millipedes right here. I'm sure you can see a bunch of them on there squirming around, especially right there. Oh, he's disappearing now. But yeah, I've a lot of millipedes in here. They break down stuff. It's very normal. We're just going to kind of dig in here a little bit. As I said, I don't really want to... Oop, found our first worm here, which is a good sign. Another worm over here. So we're already seeing a couple worms up here. Good sign. Another one. Let me see if I can grab one of these worms. I'm just trying to be very careful here. So here we go. We've got our first worm. This one does not look like one of the big adults we put in here. So this might be something of a younger worm, or a worm that I missed the last time I was going through the system, or a worm that was just small. So, but luckily we are seeing some worms in here. Here's another one right here. Oops, another two. Another small one right here. And these will plump up as we add some more moisture in here, hopefully. And another one right here. This one looks a little larger. And this one's got a little millipede as well that's on top of it. But you can see that we've got some worms in here. These are African night crawlers. That's all I've added to the system. Oh, this is what I'm looking for right here. These are African night crawlers. Look how big this worm is. And actually, it's not even all the way on my hand. Let me see if I can pick them up one more time. Pick this. Look at that. See, these are big worms. Not very lively right now. It looks like the system's starting to dry out again at about this 30-day mark, which is why I wanted to get in here and sort of check it out. They've eroded the bottom of this box, which is great. And as I said, the millipedes are helpful. Another worm right over here. So it looks like the worms that I added, they're going to get used to this system. It's going to take some time. I hate to say it, but when you move worms between systems that run very differently, they do have some issues moving around. Some more worms in here you can see. So it looks like this system is picking back up. We're going to have to try to keep it warm, which is a problem during the winter for me, but we're also going to need to keep it moist, and there's not enough moisture in here. You can see that this is already starting to dry out. See, this is very, very easily comes apart. I kind of wanted a little bit more muddy to start here. The mud that was in here, that when I added those worms, is gone. And there is no food in here really either. I'm not saying, I think we added a watermelon last time, which isn't surprising. But we do have a lot of millipedes in here, which I'm sure help them move through that food. But what we're going to do right now is I'm just digging this up a little bit, just taking a look around. So you got some moisture pockets in here. You got some more. I don't know if this is one of the same worms or not. But there's also, that's a millipede that's on that one as well. But we got a bunch of worms in here still. So we're still going to keep moving on this. But what we're going to do right now is I really don't want to add more might add a little bit of food, but the food I'm going to add is something that's very easy for them to digest. But what we do need to add is moisture. This needs a lot of moisture. It's very dry again. So I've got my sprayer here, which I think works really well for this type of thing, adding moisture, and I can kind of move stuff around and kind of shake things up a little bit like this. Make sure everything gets a little bit wet. Got some cardboard over here. Kind of mix some stuff in here. We just want to get everything we can just a little bit damp. And I'm going to have to try to check on this a little bit more frequently to make sure we get more moisture in here. This is just, it's just too dry for the worms. And they really do need that moisture. So we can mix this up. Make this into like a mud. Get them the moisture that they need. And this is just, I think, one of the best ways to do this with one of these electric sprayers. I've just found just works much better than the manual ones that I was using or the pump ones. This is just a lot easier to use. It also holds a lot more water, which helps. The other ones I had only held like a half a gallon or maybe a gallon and a half. I think this is a 4-gallon sprayer. So you can see that we're sort of turning this into some mud here. Really thickening this up, adding a lot of moisture content to this system. It's okay if it runs out the bottom. I've got a tray underneath that'll catch anything that runs out, but I really want to get this moist and even get all this bedding moist too. We're going to get all the bedding moist because that's going to just help keep everything more moist as we go forward. Now, I didn't dig over here that much, but we're going to dig that up a little bit. Big chunk in here, you can see it just comes apart. Another worm! Look at that. Flopping around like crazy. Got a couple worms in here. We're going to get them all wet. And I don't have this set too high either. I don't want to have it feel like I'm hitting them with like a pressure hose. I just want to make sure it feels like a little bit more than a rain. So we're just kind of breaking all this up. Up another large one over here. Look at this one. Look at that. Another large worm in here. Let me just see if I can. There you go. That helps you see a little bit better. Look how large these worms are, though. These African night crawlers are great, especially for those people that want to do fishing and things like that as well. Apparently they work really well for that. Another one over there. So there's a bunch of worms in here now, we're seeing. But I'm really hoping that as we reintroduce moisture to this system again, we're going to hopefully get more and more worms in this system. As I said, this really needs a nice saturation to make sure that it really gets these worms going. The worms that were in the bin were used to a very saturated system. And this system is just way too dry for them, I think. And you can see water starting to run down. That's really what we want here. Is we really want a lot of moisture in this system. Alright, I think that's good for now. Now, I do want to add, I think, some food. There is a lot of cardboard in here. These worms do like cardboard. I'm just rinsing off my gloves here real quick. As I said, I've got a container underneath that's going to catch any of this extra water that comes out. I'm not too worried about that. But I do think I want to add something for them to eat. And with that, I think what we're going to add are some of the leftovers that I have from my Vitamix. So I'm going to just grab a container like this. And I've got the Vitamix scraps over here. And this is a very dry material, so we're going to spray it down. But this is just the leftover stuff out of my Vitamix. I've done a review of it before, but I use this a lot now, especially for some things that I feel cannot go into a worm bin, such as onions and garlic. And even some other things like fish and bones and stuff like that. So hopefully it's not going to hurt them. I found that this stuff just tends to, it heats up a little bit because there's a lot of nutrient and nitrogen in there. So what I'm going to do is get this wet now. Hopefully this is going to heat up, add a little bit of heat to this system, which is good for these worms. These worms like it on the warmer side. But also this is going to give them a lot of food to eat, but not something that's freezing cold or they have to wait for it to break down. It's already really broken down for them. It's already chipped apart. Just needs to be rehydrated, just like this. And that should be good. I have had some luck putting this stuff in my systems in the past, so that's why I thought that this would work out well this time as well. And now the last part we're going to do is we're going to put this piece of cardboard back on top. I do like having cardboard on the top when there's a lot of space, and I'm trying to keep moisture in, this is going to help that rebound and fall back in. They can, of course, if this gets wet, it doesn't matter, it breaks down in the system and the worms can eat this as well. So with that, that's my update for this week, and we're going to try to check on this a little bit more frequently. I really got to monitor the moisture content, especially during the winter here. It does dry out in my house. Right now our humidity is, we've ranged in temperature from 80 degrees to 30 degrees. So a wide range of temperatures. Some days it's fine, other days it's going to be pretty cold in here, and we really need to try to keep that heat in, and that's why we really want to have something that's going to break down. Coffee grounds also is another good high nitrogen food source you can add to these systems to help build some heat. So with that, we're going to close this up, and we'll come back in a few weeks, hopefully, and check it out and see how it's doing. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts about these systems, let me know what you think down in the comments.